Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling, maybe you're just walking down a totally normal aisle in the store, say, grabbing some cereal, and then wham, it just hits you. The room kind of spins, your chest gets super tight, and there's that awful split second where you actually think, oh my God, am I dying?
That sudden fear, yeah.
Your hands start shaking, heart's going absolutely crazy, and trying to decide between like cornflakes or granola, suddenly impossible.
Right.
You feel shaky, unsteady, and all you want to do is run, get out. But everyone else, they're just, checking prices, totally oblivious.
And that contrast, that feeling of being completely alone in your panic while the world goes on normally, that can make it even scarier, can it? More isolating.
Totally. And look, if you've ever felt that sudden rush, that complete overwhelm hitting you out of the blue in public, you know exactly what we're talking about, that feeling of just being lost.
Yeah.
So today's deep dive, we're looking at a really practical way to handle those moments. We're digging into a specific method called a grounding technique.
And the source material we're looking at does a great job because it pairs a really moving personal story with, well, this very usable advice. It makes it real.
It really does. So the person in the story, they take us back to another normal moment, right? Looking at frozen pizzas this time.
Okay.
But then it starts again. Shaky hands, heart racing, that brain fog descends, and they try to just ignore it, grab the pizza. But the chest tightness, the vision going blurry, that awful spiraling feeling, it's too much.
And they have to leave.
Yep. They bolt from the store. That primal need to escape just takes over.
And that urge, that need to flee, that's the fight or flight response kicking into high gear. Your body thinks there's danger, even if the danger is actually, an internal thought or sensation. It's like the alarm system is malfunctioning.
Right. And what's interesting, the turning point here is that this wasn't the first time they had had these off moments before, but this one felt different, sharper somehow.
Okay.
So they did what, well, a lot of us do. Went online, typed in something like sudden panic in public.
Makes sense.
And that's how they found it. The term panic attack. And crucially, this idea of grounding techniques for anxiety attack.
And that's such a vital step, isn't it? Going from just experiencing it to actively seeking understanding and, importantly, tools or strategies, that's taking back some control.
Exactly. Which brings us right to the core of it.
Yeah.
The grounding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. It sounds maybe almost too simple, but that's kind of the beauty of it.
It is deceptively simple, yeah, but it's incredibly effective because it directly engages your senses to pull you out of that internal spiral and back into the, physical reality of the present moment.
Okay, so how does it actually work? Let's walk through it.
Yeah.
First step. Notice 5 things you can actually see around you. The source gives examples like blue cart, cereal box, floor tile, light, sign. Just naming them silently or out loud. Maybe even right now listening. You can just glance around and name 5 things you see.
Yeah, do it. It starts that gentle shift, doesn't it? Moving your focus outwards, away from the internal storm of thoughts and physical feelings that are feeding the panic.
Then, step 2. Find 4 things you can touch, feel.
Okay.
Like the source says, your jeans, the cart handle, your fingers, your shoes on the ground. Just bringing awareness to those physical sensations. What are you actually in contact with? Maybe the chair you're sitting on, the fabric of your shirt.
That tactile input, it's very grounding, literally. It anchors you in your body in this physical space, reminding your nervous system that you're here, now, and likely safe.
Okay, next up, 3 things you can hear.
Right.
Listening.
The example was beep at checkout, hum a fridge, footsteps. So really tuning in what sounds are actually around you, even faint ones. Maybe it's the computer fan, traffic outside, someone talking down the hall.
Again, it broadens your awareness beyond the internal noise of the anxiety. You're connecting with the immediate environment through a different sense.
Then 2 things you can smell. Now this one might feel a bit harder sometimes.
That can be subtle, yeah.
But even faint smells count. The source mentions soap on your hand, packaging scent, or maybe, coffee lingering, the air itself, just noticing.
Smell is so strongly linked to memory and emotion, actually. So consciously identifying a scent can be a surprisingly powerful anchor to the present.
And finally, step 5. 1 thing you can taste.
Okay, the last sense.
Yeah. The source says, chew gum, sip water, or even just noticing the sensation in your mouth, like if it's dry. That counts too.
It brings that final primary sense online, providing another immediate link to the here and now.
And what's really brilliant about this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing is just how accessible it is. You can do it anywhere, Anytime. No equipment needed.
Exactly. Panic doesn't schedule appointments, right? So having a tool you can pull out of your mental toolkit the second you feel that wave starting wherever you are, that's incredibly empowering.
And the why behind it, the reason it works, is also really helpful to understand, I think.
Yeah, the mechanism.
When panic hits, your brain's basically screaming, danger. That's the fight or flight. But often, like the source points out, the danger isn't external. It's a thought, a memory, a fear inside you.
Right. It's an internal trigger setting off the alarm.
So grounding, kind of,
Yeah.
interrupts that signal. It forces your nervous system to pay attention to what's actually happening right now in the present moment. And usually the present moment is objectively safe.
Precisely. And it's not about fighting the panic head on or trying to force it away, which often backfires anyway.
Right.
It's more about creating an anchor, something solid in the present moment to hold on to while the wave of panic washes through you. You're not stopping the wave, you're just finding a way to stay afloat until it passes, riding it out.
I like that, riding the wave. So the person in the story, they didn't just read about this. They actually put it into practice proactively.
Sure.
Wrote it down on a sticky note, kept it in their wallet.
Mm.
And this is key, practiced it when they were calm.
Ah, the rehearsal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like sitting at home, on the bus, at work,
Yeah.
running through the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like a mental fire drill, you know.
That is absolutely crucial because like any skill, the more you practice when the pressure's off, the easier it is to access and use effectively when you actually need it. You build that mental muscle memory.
And it paid off. A few weeks later, they're in a cafe line, and that old familiar panic starts creaking back in.
Okay, the real test.
But this time, because they'd practiced, they could consciously switch gears. Start the technique. Noticing the wood grain on the table, feeling their sleeve, hearing the espresso machine hiss.
Focusing on those concrete details.
And the big difference, they didn't run away. They stayed. They managed it right there.
That's huge. It shows it works in the wild, so to speak.
Mm.
Even if the panicky feelings are still there, grounding gives you that mental space, that ability to stay put and not get swept away by the urge to flee.
And the source is really clear. This isn't some magic wand to make panic attacks vanish forever. That's important, setting realistic expectations.
Definitely. It's a management tool, not necessarily a cure-all.
But it can totally change your experience of panic. From feeling powerless and overwhelmed to feeling like you have, well, a tool. Some agency.
Agency is the perfect word.
The narrator says it gave them the power to stay in my body and help them learn to ride the wave instead of being pulled under. That's a massive shift.
It really is. Just knowing you have something you can do can lessen the fear of the panic itself, that anticipatory anxiety.
So for you listening, if this sounds familiar, if you've been through similar things, the source gives some really clear, actionable advice. First, try to memorize the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 steps. Then actually practice them. Do it when you're feeling calm, so it feels more natural when you need it.
Good idea.
Maybe even write it down, phone note, little card in your wallet, whatever works, just as a backup reminder.
Yeah, a physical prompt can help.
And maybe the most important part, try to adopt that self-compassionate message the source offers. I'm not crazy, I'm not broken, I'm just having a moment, and it will pass.
That self-kindness is so, so important. Fighting panic with fear or judgment often just makes it worse. Approaching it with understanding can make a real difference.
Okay, so wrapping things up, the big takeaway today is this grounding 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Remember the steps. 5 things you see, 4 you touch, 3 you hear, 2 you smell, 1 you taste.
See, touch, hear, smell, taste. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's simple, yeah, but really powerful. Something you can use literally anywhere when that feeling of panic starts to rise.
And that final thought from our source really sticks with you, doesn't it? You don't need to be fearless. You just need a way to stay here.
That really hits home. A way to stay here. Maybe just sit with that for a moment. How could you use this idea, this technique, to find your own way to stay here when things feel overwhelming?
And maybe this sparks curiosity to look into other grounding methods, too. There are quite a few out there. This is just one really effective starting point.